It feels like every couple months a new news story comes out where some political leader or judge more or less says the same thing, and that is, our jails are a mess. Hey everybody, I'm Slava P. This is Gary Grindset, and today we're going to be talking about how the solution to all of this is something people don't really want to talk about, but we need to build more jails. More schools and stuff too, probably, but jails, very important. I'll tell you why. So the latest person to have said something was a Brantford judge who pretty much snapped around sentencing and said that Canada has lost its way when it comes to jails. And you know what? He's got a point. Canada didn't just lose its way, it lost its capacity. Literally, it lost its capacity. There's too many people. And let me break down how this works, because sometimes people lump the two interchangeably: jail, prison. One's provincial, one's federal. Let's get into it and I'll explain why you should be mad at which layer of government. Also, go Jays go. The reality is that these things are not even playing the same sport, let alone the same league. You see, provincial jails are like the holding tanks of society. Not only is it where you go if your sentence ends up being less than 2 years, it's where you go when you're awaiting sentencing in general. That means it's kind of like a revolving door. There's guys who are there on remand, there's guys who are there doing weekends, there's guys who are there just there for 6 months, and then there's people there who are genuinely innocent and just waiting to get bail or get sentenced. But the difference is that nobody's really doing programs, nobody's rehabilitating or even reading, because the library is damn near non-existent. Everybody in provincial jail is just stewing in their own frustration and most likely freestyling into a corner about their first day out. I speak from experience. Not to mention the withdrawal from all the illicit substances that they're probably missing. Assuming that they couldn't get them into the provincial jail because the guards didn't bring them in. Yeah, that is where they come from, the guards. But that is actually exactly what this Brantford judge was talking about. Places like Toronto South, Maplehurst, Lindsay, everything is clogged up like a cheap drain. We're talking triple bunked cells, guards doing 16-hour shifts, and people sleeping on the floor beside the toilet. And the kicker is that most of the people there haven't even been convicted yet. They're still waiting to find out their fate. It's like society's loading screen, except shittier. Now, the difference is the federal side of things, which is the penitentiary. That's where I spent 2.5 years. Don't get it twisted, though. Just because of my experience, not every prison is like Club Fed or Club Med. There's a system. They're built on something. There's minimum security, medium security, and then if you're really bad, there's max. In maximum security, you're not leaving your cell for more than 2 hours a day. It's inhumane, but check this out. That's the standard in provincial. That's right. Provincial jail has the same security as max while having some innocent people stay there. But the difference is that in federal, after you get classified and sent away, you can work, you can study, you can do programs, you can learn how to do a chainsaw course, which is something I tried to do but couldn't because the guest list was too long. Guest list. The difference between federal and provincial is a difference between surviving and existing. That's why you hear guys say, I'd rather go to federal, because over there not only can you wear your own clothes, but there's structure and there's rehabilitation, whereas in provincial you're just kind of in one of Dante's worst layers of hell. Provincial, pure chaos. When you're in there, you're just another body in this broken machine that we call a system, which is why the only way forward is to build more jails. Now, I know that's going to piss off a lot of you left-leaning types who think that jail is not the answer. Guess what? Sometimes it is. Sometimes the only way through to somebody is by showing them the worst possible thing that could happen to them, so they try their darndest to avoid going back there again, ever, ever, ever. And again, jails will not result in us locking more people up. Enough people are already locked up. Remember I told you 3 to a bunk? That's insane. Bunk bed, 2 people. You can't cram 3 guys into a cell the size of this kitchen and call it justice, okay? And you can't talk about rehabilitation where you're not even giving people enough room to do push-ups. You can't give someone a second chance when their first chance is spent sleeping on the floor beside a toilet. We need space. We need facilities. We need room for people to go to. And no, that doesn't mean that more cages will fix things, but it means that these facilities will be built with the right purpose in mind. Humane design, programming, proper staffing, maybe even some mental health units. The problem is that doing this requires admitting that the current system is broken, and nobody wants to do that, except for maybe Pierre Polyev. Now, I know that everybody wants to talk about abolition or defunding, but try explaining that to a guard in Maplehurst who hasn't slept in 2 days, who just got threatened with violence for the 4th time in one shift. The system is bursting. It is at full capacity. That is what the Brantford judge said when he sentenced someone to federal instead of provincial. Sending someone to provincial is actually a worse sentence, even though it's less time. That is not the way things are supposed to work. And the reason it's working like that is because it's filled to overcapacity. And there's only one way to fix a supply and demand issue. You have to create more supply. Trust me, the demand for criminal activity will always be there. You can't rehabilitate someone in a sardine can, and you can't teach accountability in a place that runs on lockdowns 24/7. You can't claim compassion while ignoring overcrowding that would make the humane society go, ooh, that's pretty bad. Get it? Building jails sounds medieval, right? But maybe what we need are better jails, smarter jails, if you will. Jails that separate the remanded from the sentenced. Ones where short-term offenders can learn something besides how to light a wick and spark it off the electrical outlet. Ones that stop small mistakes from turning into lifelong habits. You would be surprised how many people I encountered in Provincial who were not addicted to Suboxone before they went to jail. Because the only thing we are building right now in Ontario is resentment for Ontario, and resentment doesn't rehabilitate anybody. So yeah, I said it. Canada needs more jails. I'm not saying that because I like cages or I want to get in on a metalworking contract and actually build those bars. Hint, Mark Hardy. No, I'm saying this because I've been in one and I know firsthand how dangerous these things are to people who are not prepared. And trust me, nobody is prepared for 3 to a cell in Provincial. I've seen what happens when you don't even give people the space they need to be human. And you can't fix a system by cutting funding. It's already under maximum capacity. We don't want to give it any other reason to collapse. You can fix it by doing some ugly math. We need space, we need reform, and we need honesty. And unfortunately, we need more jails. But until we solve this, we're not just losing our way, we've already lost it. When a Brantford judge is sentencing someone unhappily, that's a sign that we've gone too far, folks. And no amount of nice press releases are going to fix the ugly truth. This has been Slava P for Gary Grindset. Shout off in the comments about the videos that you want to see me talk about, and I'll see if I can get it done. Until then, like and subscribe. Bye bye.